Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we are on Entitled Parents. Our first post is by Silver6Rules. Ever point out something your mother did wrong, and you get the silent treatment as a result? Yeah, we're on day 4 of this BS. So when I was younger, and did something bad, my mother had this annoying habit of lecturing me until I was almost blue in the face. This would be fine if she only did it once. She'd lecture me for an hour or so, leave me alone, get a second wind, and come right back at me half an hour later. Then I'd get the silent treatment for a day or so. I'd dare to ask her something, and she'd find a way to go right back to that same lecture a few more times until I got tired of hearing it. After apologizing so many times, acquired a bored monotone, she'd get enraged, and the lecture reset switch was flipped. Now that I'm older and she does something wrong, I correct her once, and sometimes, before I can get the sentence out of my mouth, she gets irritated saying, I got it, basically trying to shut me up. I point out the hypocrisy, she goes silent. Usually when I come to visit, we talk all the time. Once I pissed her off, however, she refused to say a word for 3 hours. I refused to act like I gave a damn and just left. She has not said a word to me in 3 days, and she usually calls me 4 to 5 times a day. Then when she finally needs me for something, she twists it and acts like I'm the one ignoring her, and she's apparently being the bigger person by finally talking to me. I'm so sick of dealing with this, yet no contact is not an option. Anybody else dealing with this? Any point in trying to get a 68-year-old to change her ways? Update. Welp, she cracked after a week of silence. Predictably, she needed me for something, so she invited me to come over this morning so she could figure out what she did wrong, but I didn't go until late this afternoon. I waited on her, she can wait on me. Of course, she started by feigning ignorance, talking about she was hurt when I called her out on her BS, claiming the reason I got ignored for 3 hours is because she's trying to figure out what she possibly could have done. My response, well, maybe we could have figured that out together if you had used your words instead of ignoring me for hours and then the rest of the week. So she claimed she stayed silent again because of the hurt, and still claiming to not know what she did, yet vows apparently to never do it again. Yeah, right, I'll take bets on that. It's so convenient that she gets to claim ignorance or forgetfulness when enough time has passed, so somehow she still comes out looking like the victim. When my blood pressure feels up to it, we might have another more in-depth conversation now that the petty silence is over, but for now it feels like a small win. I got my point across, did not claim responsibility for any of it, because I know I didn't do jack this time, and I stayed calm and did not yell. And I can tell she was expecting it. So not the most glorious of updates, but at least I held my ground. Next up, posted by Anonymous Lee. Unfair relationship treatment by family. 25F. I recently got married March of this year, after being with my now husband for 3 years. We had a long-distance relationship, and he lived 3 hours away. He would drive down to church on Sundays and would spend time after this, and he would go back the same day. His drive totaled 6 hours. My family did not treat us well at all, specifically my parents and older sister. I have 2 other sisters, and my dad is also my pastor. My mom was disapproving mainly over the fact that I am taller than him. She didn't focus on all the work and progress he was making spiritually at all. She did say he is going to do everything right, basically to get my dad's approval. When I confronted her about how this hurt me, she was not understanding, and though I addressed it with both my mom and dad later in time, the scar still has not healed because of the continual maltreatment I received. My parents also accused me of talking to a boy because I wanted attention, but that really is not the type of person I am at all. I was always shamed for the lack of confidence in myself, and this relationship that started over quarantine was the only thing that actually brought light to my life. I had had major struggles at college. COVID started, and I was stuck at home to finish my final semester of college. I didn't have a will to live, and my husband took me out of a darkness my family only dug me further into. Once my husband was officially in the picture, though things got better for us in ways, but my family made my relationship absolute hell. I didn't want to believe they were as bad as they were, though my husband had to see and deal with this truth for years alone. My older sister, now 28, was a major antagonizer and not respectful of the relationship at all. She had never talked to a boy before. Since the start of me and my husband spending time, we were put on a timer in regards to the time we could spend. She would get on me for being late. She did not recognize us going out after church as dates, so she would request us to run errands for her. We would do this because we just wanted to spend time. I eventually had to go to my parents because the disrespect was just too great. She accused me of being a bad example for other women in the church to follow because what I was doing was not acceptable and they would think they could do it. Mind you, one of my sisters had 2 boys in the church at the same time at a point, and I was the bad example. While a major factor to his time spent down where I lived was for church, I was a factor too, and my parents and older sister shamed the time spent as recreational. I was constantly told throughout this whole time, soul mating not dating, and was not allowed to have a normal relationship at all. There was a lot of silent and passive disapproval. It led me to be ashamed and scared to have the relationship. I couldn't be honest about my love, and my husband often felt hidden and disrespected. He hated being around my family, and to this day prefers to not spend time with them. I've come to respect this. My father's approval was required for us to be married. We sat down to talk to him and tell him we would like to take steps toward preparing for marriage. Things got so bad through this process that I didn't want to get engaged or have a wedding. They had sucked any joy or love out of our love story. My husband did end up proposing, which surprised me, and I ended up appreciating it dearly. And I was forced to have a wedding that I did 98% of the work for, and my husband and I fronted all of the bills that they said they'd pay us back late for. Post-wedding, my family has been nothing but sweet. So nice and respectful that it's scary. All seemed fine until I found out a few days ago that the older sister now in a relationship after starting to talk in April, very soon after my wedding, and it is approved of, and anything and everything that I was shamed for and not allowed to do she is doing. I initially was supportive when I first heard, but then the pain of years of mistreatment started to reappear. Because I never felt accepted or supported until I had my wedding. I treated my family with respect and got none. I was put through hell, and my sister gets an amusement park pass. I always knew her journey would be quicker and easier, but I didn't think it would come this soon and hurt me as much as it is. I want to talk to her and my parents at the same time, to avoid misconstrued information, and am requesting help on how to go about it. I plan on talking to my family and need some advice on how to best go about it. I want to let them know that though I love them, they hurt me greatly and never felt a need to apologize for it. Now I'm seeing unfair treatment and favoritism, and I know I will grow distance from them if it is not addressed. Down in the comments below, Excellent Ad replied, "So you are the scapegoat to your sister, the golden child. Maybe you should step away from the entire bunch for a while and reevaluate your relationship to them. Maybe a month or 2 away from them will give you some time to think straight and decide if having them in your lives is worth it." OP replies, "Unfortunately, I see them twice a week at minimum, and that isn't an option right now. But if I don't get respectful acknowledgement from them on how they hurt me, distance will be made." Followed by a comment by Build It Breakfast Fix It. "I don't understand why it would not be an option. Any church that has those kinds of expectations and treats members that way is not a church, it's a cult. Any words spoken there are tainted by cynicism, idolatry, and most likely hatred. Run. Leave it all. Your entire life will improve immensely. It did for me." Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.